right, 2 Samuel 18. Let's call this one Three Messengers and subtitle it David's Return, because this is where the dispute between David and Absalom is going to be settled on the battlefield after David finally gets a moment of peace fleeing from Absalom. He is not going to rest for long, taking the time now to rally his forces and divide them in thirds, one under Joab, his known general. Joab's brother is going to take the second third, and Ittai the Gittite, the one who chose to go with David, even though he could have simply stayed around with the people of Israel, is not only going to prove to be loyal to David, he's going to bring some skills, enough so that David is going to trust that last third of his army to Ittai's command. And dividing that army up, he is going to send them out to battle against Absalom, but not before cautioning his generals, asking them, deal gently with Absalom for my sake. And that's not going to prove to be all that persuasive to Joab, because as they go out to battle, it is going to be clear that the battle is rough. 20,000 men are going to die on the battlefield that day. But by the time word comes to Joab that Absalom is in what might be one of the more embarrassing ways of stumbling on a battlefield, going to get his long, beautiful locks of hair caught in a tree. One of the messengers is going to say, Joab, I saw Absalom get stuck in a tree. Joab's going to say, why didn't you kill him? He's going to say, because I heard David just like you did. Deal gently with Absalom for my sake. Joab isn't going to care, though. He's going to say, I would have paid you to kill that kid. To which the messenger is going to respond, there is not enough money, my paraphrase, for me to kill the king's kid. Understanding that if I did it, you wouldn't stand up for me. And he's already killed messengers for claiming to kill Saul. And another one for killing one of Saul's kids. So you got to be kidding if you think I'm about to touch his own kid and think that money's going to fix it. And so that messenger is going to prove to be obedient and wise in the way that he gets it. We've already heard word of what David does to messengers who think they're bringing good news of someone else's death, and he says, I'll pass. Joab, however, doesn't care, and he takes the chance, goes ahead and kills Absalom. But that means somebody's got to break the news to David. And there's a young man who's going to volunteer to go. But Joab's going to say, today's not the day to be bringing news to David. His son's dead. But the young man is going to persist. Instead, Joab is going to pull a cold move. He's going to tell a Cushite, why don't you go tell David what you saw? At which point the Cushite is going to bow and simply take the assignment. Eventually, the young man is going to press Joab to the point where Joab's going to say, buddy, there's going to be no reward for telling David this news. Why do you want to go? He's going to say, come what may. He doesn't care. It's almost as if he understands that the consequences might be dire. He seems to care about David so much that he simply wants him to have the relief of knowing his battle, at least this battle, is over. And so he runs, and he's actually going to outrun the messenger who has started out ahead of him. And as they both approach the city where David is holed up, the watchman is going to say, I see a man running. And after a while, he is going to make out a little bit more of what the man looks like. And he's going to say, it looks like the running of Ahimaaz. And David is going to say, Ahimaaz is a good man who is likely bringing good news. But they're going to continue to watch, and they're going to say, wait, I see another man following him. And as both approach David, Ahimaaz arrives first and tells the king, good news, the battle is over. You have won. But David, not content with winning, wants to know what happened with Absalom, and the young man is going to punt that question and leave it for the Cushite to break that news. So when the Cushite arrives, he is going to show himself to be a wise man who might have put a lot of thought and maybe even more prayer into how to break this news to David. And when David asks him what happened to Absalom, he is going to simply say, may all the king's enemies who rise against the king for evil be like that young man. And that gentle way of putting it in perspective for the king came with the wisdom that helped him understand, even though the news is to your son is not good, it's just not safe for the king to have anyone, son or not, with those kinds of motives in his circle. So understand how in our lives it is not simply the powerful that we will need in our times of desperation, but it's important to have people who are simply messengers with wisdom as to how to handle bad news in your corner as well, to help you begin the process of healing, even when it seems like all they're doing is giving you news.